Hello, everyone. Welcome on into a special episode of Ampistrano. Hope you all are doing well. We missed you all, and I have had the pleasure of being in this little fireside chat campfire since it's the summer with now Maz and Fair and Maz and Fair. I haven't had the wonderful opportunity to sit down and chat with Sin. Thank you for that, as always. Oh, yeah.
You said campfire.
Yeah, it works. Yeah, sure. So we thought that this would be a great opportunity for us to chat about the season, the series, the legend that is behind Rory and Blackstone, the sunflower themselves. And so we've grabbed some of the questions that have been submitted over the course of the last few Q&As that we've had. As well as some of the new questions that have come in, and we've added them to a little sheet. If you have questions for us, please go ahead. We're still taking them. You can just need to type in question in the chat, and either Sin or I will grab it and put it on our lovely little document back here, so we can go ahead and answer your things. But before we get into it proper, Sin, why don't you introduce yourself? All the things.
So all the things. Now, outside of it, we're going to just do an intro that is like an outside of Ampistrano thing this time.
There you go.
So, hi, my name is Sinziak, your resident sunflower being. I am a tabletop game performer and producer and narrative writer. And in my free time when I'm not doing those things, I also spend a lot of time talking about tech and gaming industries and the things that make the situations that we deal with the way they are, which ends up with me being very sad these days. So everyone should unionize, free all the people, and someone get the guillotines. That's it. That's where we are. As an introduction. Thank you so much.
I think that's a great introduction. And hi everyone, I'm D&D Jordan, she, they pronouns. I am the storyteller, and today just Jordan and the producer, slash, I guess, moderator, since I'm also going to be asking us both questions for today. So we're here. And yeah.
I am here with, just outside of Pride Month, this is everybody's friendly reminder that I'm here with 2 pronouns, because I wanted to keep my hands full.
Yeah.
So I'm your resident he, they.
Love it. Love it. And I mean, technically it is still Pride Month. It is Disability Pride Month.
I think we've moved into Wrath at this point.
And it's Wrath Month. But yeah, again, on brand. But yeah, welcome on in. As mentioned, and we're live both on YouTube and on Twitch for this Q&A. We will have information about when our return for Season 5. That'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks as we solidify schedules, which we know, if you've been in the TTRPG space, are the bane of most of our existences, and este economia. So once we have that all situated, we'll have the new information about that, as well as some sneak peeks of some special things that are being worked on. In the meantime as well. You can find out all of this information in our Discord or by following us on socials, as well as YouTube, which, hello YouTube, appreciate you being here. So Sin, do you want to just dive into it?
Yes, apparently y'all have been owed this session of things for a hot minute, a lukewarm minute, all of those types of temperatures. So we're gonna give y'all the journalism that you were hoping to have a couple of seasons ago.
Well, if you think about it, Sin, you and I haven't had like a sit-down Q&A to talk about Rory Blackstone since what, season, in between season 1 and season 2? Yeah.
Yep.
And there's been a lot of changes since then. So like, I'm very excited that we're getting to have this kind of sit down to talk about it. It's also just a joy to talk with you. I'm very blessed. All of my players are wonderful. So I do love talking to them. But we're also friends outside of it, so that helps,
Mm-hmm.
So, but in that similar vein, in a great transition, Looking
Okay.
back, how has your character changed since episode 1 of this season and of the series?
Since episode 1 of the series or episode 1 of this season, obviously there has been a change of things in this season because we started off as Blackstone and now we are Rory.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, I feel like that. I mean, how has your character changed? They are two completely like differently expressed souls of people. I don't think you could get any more different than that. How have things changed since season 1, though? Well, I think the one of the biggest changes has been the awareness of things.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Blackstone was in stasis for 250 years.
Yeah.
Prior to well, actually a little bit more than that, but around 250 years prior to episode 1 of Ampistrano, period. Right? And so there is a lot of having to go back into the world and seeing how things are and kind of experiencing new things, which is the thing that Blackstone was ultimately built to do.
Yeah.
So there's that. On the other hand, you now have Rory, who's here temporarily. It's like actual a thing / kind of a filler arc for Blackstone here, where you have a person who is aware of the world the way that it once was and has studied a lot about it and has in some ways a lot has changed in that cities and societies and stuff have progressed, but I think in a lot of ways for Rory, things are different. Well, some things are different, but a lot of things are very much the same.
Yeah.
Like, there's something to be said about how that feels of being like, that's an evil from my time. Y'all are still dealing with this. That was an issue that is an issue from my time. You're still dealing with that. And I think there's something bittersweet about someone doing something in the hope that there would have been more progress in the world than there has been.
Yeah.
But it's not even like a different enemy of the same kind. It's the same society. Like, there is a way that hits, especially considering in Rory's case what it cost him because they exist.
Yeah. I think if I can jump in too, I think this season kind of brought in an interesting and unique experience because, you know, the representation too of you have Rory, who's an old soul, and Blackstone in relation is a relatively new soul, are both walking the same streets. And the old soul is getting the new information from the new soul, but also the old soul's experiences that they are having. So it's a very interesting clashing of timelines and worlds because, you know, Rory did see Jorix in the early stages of it being built, and then whisked away, and then it was Blackstone taking that center stage and stuff. So it's, as a DM, it's been very interesting, the amount of narrative moments, and I do believe there's going to be more that are going to be popping up in this upcoming season, but being able to play with that, getting to, I know you were dying to also explore, and I know we'll talk about it more in a little bit, but more stuff that you had kind of been building in your backstory. So yeah, it was, as a DM, there's been a lot of fun with like messing with those kind of strings and seeing what will kind of happen with that and what you'll do with it. Because I truthfully, much like you grabbing and biting onto the cube, I never know what you're gonna do. I might think I know, but I'm truthfully kidding myself because I never truly know what you're gonna do or what's in that brilliant head of yours. So narratively, that's the same thing. I have a couple of ideas, but I never know what it is or who, if it's a Rory situation or a Blackstone situation, how you might interact with this, something that's popping up.
Yeah, those are most of my thoughts about the major changes. I think a lot of the minor ones are akin to a thing that Jordan has just said, that a lot of from different sides or from different reasons, they seem to be learning similar things,
Hmm.
like the learning how to care for people and connect with them. It expresses itself differently, but they're both having to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
In this case, it's the Rory is like, I have these people that I'm going to be with for a short time. I know it's not going to be forever. How close do I get knowing that I only have a limited amount of time? For Blackstone, it is it's a kind of a purpose thing,
Hmm.
because um for everybody's notes, this character class was a character class that Jordan was going to straight up ban as an option
Not
from playing,
not the
and
class.
I had to plead a case.
Not the
Um,
class. I'm gonna
and
clarify. It wasn't the class. It was the
right,
legacy you chose.
um, so you know something, I should probably start using those as interchangeable words, because sometimes it's a are you this, and sometimes it's a what do these mechanics let you do. But yeah, like it was a you can't be a Warforged character, and I'm just like, okay, but here's a 5-page document. Can I do it?
Yeah.
And Jordan was like, ooh, that's really convincing, actually. Never mind.
Yeah.
And I think it's safe to say 4 seasons later, I have made that choice count.
You did.
I have done a good job with that. But yeah, that's where that is. And
I remember that combo too. You're like, are there any legacies that you just would not be really a thing? Oh, like automatons and Warforged, just because they're there, but they're not super popular. And then you're like, okay, but wait, hear me out though. And then
yep.
slid that over, and I was like, well, okay, like it makes sense. Okay, here's your evidentiary support about why. Yeah, we could make it work, and it's an interesting story thread too. So sure, we'll do it.
Sidebar, I had to promise that I wouldn't be like one of these people who was trying to min max things to death. So I had like an
Yeah.
AC of 37 at the beginning of the game. And so I'm just like, here is the roleplay reason I want to do this. And here's what I plan on doing. And she's just like, you know what? Okay. I can see the vision here. We can make that work. That's fine.
Yeah. Listen, when your players come at you with a bunch of stuff and you're like, wait a minute, this is why I love this game and collaborating with all of you, because I can think a certain way, and then you all come in with something else. I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that before, or that's now a really interesting narrative thread to follow. Okay, but there's gonna be some things so you're not OP, like roll it up in here. And like you're still a rarity, like Blackstone, as we've been seeing, I think more so in Jorix. And then if you also flash back to season 2 or 3, one of those, when we're in Felk and seeing those things, Blackstone is unique. There are no other automatons that are like them. So, and that specification too, because I know we had a whole conversation about Blackstone is an automaton, and yes, there are Warforged out there, but we haven't encountered, truthfully, any Warforged yet. But, like, they're out there. So, it brought on a really unique thing. So, wonderful. Question from our lovely mod, Sticky Peanut. And a reminder, y'all, if you have questions too, I'm going to reiterate this, about Ampistrano or TTRPGs, actual plays, like please type in question. We'll grab your question. I'm keeping an eye out in both the YouTube chat and in our Twitch chat.
Please and thank you.
I got it. But this comes from Peanut. What would you say are your main inspirations for your characters? I think this is gonna be mainly geared towards you because I've answered it in the others, but I will reiterate it for those that are new. Both PC and DM control characters and world state. I just love to hear about what made these characters and what you all use as reference or inspiration to guide their actions forward. I'll let you go first.
Jordan took all my characters and made them terrible people, except for like 2. So there's that. But again, as I've kind of mentioned here, I'm a narrative writer. So and to explain what that means, I am a person when we talk about worlds that talks about where things come from and why they exist. So a lot of it started with, well, if I say that this thing is true about the world, then why is that true? What does it mean if that's true? What other effects or impact does that have? Right? So keep that in mind. Blackstone is based on a thing that I made for a random practice session because there was a system that I was involved in kind of testing for character creation stuff.
Yeah.
And that character's name was Ghelfi. Also a Warforged character who I was just like, I'm going to give this a couple of paragraphs that allow us to have a little bit of drama, and that I hope that drama appears here in this world. So at the time, what I had was there was a background. It's similar but different. There was a background, kind of a large war that had happened a long time ago. And in the process of people doing the things that they do in times of war to try to invent new things to combat the problems of their age, they invented the first Warforged, right?
Yeah.
But then when the war ended, they were just like, well, what do we do with these beings that we have made only for war? They're the only thing that, like, they have no purpose. And without that purpose, what do we do with them? Some of them managed to find their ways into various villages and towns doing simple things like blacksmithing or something like that. But some of them with no purpose just eventually like died out. And the story of Ghelfi was they were one of them that had found like a peaceable thing to do in a small town, but the rise of an evil that people had long thought was gone was just kind of like, oh, now I'm gonna have to come out of retirement. So like that was their whole thing. And I used that as I used that person's story. I'm just like, I didn't get to do everything with that character that I wanted to do. And so in true fashion, for everybody who's ever played a tabletop game, I now have a character where I get to see at least one version of how that would play out.
Yeah.
In this case, for Blackstone, it was there are possibly others in the world, and we don't know where they are, that are like them, but they were made for a particular purpose while all of this background stuff had been happening. And Blackstone is a scouting unit. Or like would have been a scouting unit. There's a possibility that others exist who would have been made for other reasons that we haven't run into yet. And the ways to make them have been lost to time because no one wants to deal with the possibility of someone stealing the instructions to walk in and start making a number of like intelligent siege machines. So there's that.
Yeah.
And so once I had that concept for Blackstone, we had to deal with, well, who made Blackstone? Why did they make Blackstone? Did that person have other things that they cared about or people that they were trying to protect? That would do that. And so Jordan was asking us, like, while I'm thinking about that, Jordan was asking back in the earlier seasons, who does your character know? Why are these people important to them? Try to come up with a list of 4 or 5. So it was questions like, what is the world like? Where are we starting in the game? All of that. And then going from there to why does Blackstone care about these people and how are they connected to them?
Yeah.
So we had the person who made him, a person that they cared about, the person who would have found them and kind of brought them back into, brought them back to life in the current age.
Yep.
And like the people that they made because of that. And also, I'm weird. So when I say that also I'm weird, I also think about magic and how people learn it, because typically in settings, and this game is like D&D-ish, but not quite because of all the other stuff that goes into it. There's a lot of rules and mechanics about magic and people learning magic. Learning magic is supposed to be a fairly expensive thing to do because it requires training, and so that usually means you have some level of affluence if you are not a sorcerer, right? If you were not born with magic powers that you understand on an intuitive level, or if you haven't made a contract with some otherworldly being who just decided to choose you for whatever reason, magic is expensive. So I thought about what would it be like to live in a world where there were ways to learn magic for poor people. That's how Blackstone ended up becoming an arcane trickster. So like there's a whole paragraph in the character brief that I sent Jordan about ways that poor people learn magic and why Blackstone through that is that, and that system being how Blackstone learned magic, where there is a understanding on some levels for the cities that when people go and learn magic, they then have an obligation to the community that they learned that magic from. So they have to help people. They have to fix things or clean things or repair stuff or use their magic to protect the town that they live in. Are there people who are elitist about it? Yes. One of them was a character that we recently just had as a boss fight.
Yep.
So all of those things, and then some like additional stuff went into the considerations for the different PC stuff and the NPCs that I gave Jordan. Was kind of like, okay, here's where they're starting from, or whatever. Oh, there was also like the other character, because Jordan also likes being like, well, they either become evil or they die. It's
not true. It's not true.
The only one who hasn't died is a person I didn't even make. Jordan was just like, I'm gonna put this person.
You
in
don't
here.
know for sure if so and so is dead. It has not been confirmed.
We're gonna find out.
You don't know.
Honestly, they better not be. But we will discuss that later. I'm gonna take that to the union. By the union, I mean
I'm
fair.
gonna go to court. I was about to say, you don't know. I'm of the mindset, I think, when it comes to how we DM, unless we see it confirmed with like a character death happening, I don't believe it. They're dead, kind of thing. So like that is just my mindset with things, because personally, I think that is lazy storytelling when it's just kind of weaved away.
Where you're just like
looking at
off-screen.
you, Game of Thrones, Stannis' death. If you know, you know.
Off-screening people.
Yeah, especially when you've gotten a character that you've been like. Granted, this was a new character, but like something important like that feels to me very, very cheap and lazy. So I'm not confirming or denying if they're alive or not, but that is my mindset. If that helps you, I think for me as a DM, with the threads that came in mind when you first approached me with this proposal for Rory/Blackstone, there were a couple things that popped into my head which fit perfectly because of what Ampistrano was inspired by. And you're gonna laugh, I know, because we've talked about it before. The first was Treasure Planet. Steve Martin plays, or I'm sorry, Martin Short plays voices as a robot that actually gets left behind. And then someone finds him and fixes him up. And so the last half, because he comes in late, of the movie is him piecing together his memories. Mm-hmm. And he has the key and knows where the treasure is. Perfect timing. Peanut, we're answering your question, actually. So perfect timing. Thank you for that sub. So that was like something of interest. I was like, oh, that could be something that I could see Sin kind of sinking their teeth into this. The other was, and this was more in play when Carmen was in the picture, I would say. Yu-Gi-Oh! Truthfully, the fact that you have young Yugi and then Atem, spoilers, it's been out for a while, Atem, as the two kind of spirits that are within that body. And again, it was interesting because Rory wasn't quite in the picture. You were looking for Rory out in the world because they had just disappeared. And that story thread of they had disappeared and you did not know what had happened, that left such a interesting and unique thread for me to weave. So then when it came to, I know I'm telling them all about it, Salem. It came to season 3. Yeah, it was.
I think you started dropping that back in season 2 with Ursula.
Little bit, which Ursula is a very interesting character in herself. You know, she knows a lot of things, but like that whole reveal of like, hey, no, Rory is within the same body, right? Like it was a different take on Frankenstein, right? Like where you are not the monster, but the creator and what they have created are one and the same.
I think there's also something to be said about, I think there's been a balance here where I think at a certain point there is a where does Sin end and where does Jordan begin when it comes to how this happened, because like there were characters that I put in here, but Jordan was just like, but what if y'all lived in the same house? Why did you do that? So when we first ran into Carmen in season 1, we thought she was the Lady of the Veil because the first time that Blackstone sees her is when they get knocked unconscious, and we're just like, who is this elf lady? And everybody in the party is just like, you saw the Lady of the Veil. Just kind of like, no.
I was cooking up a bit.
Also, as a note, because this is also in the question, right? There is I want to hear what made these characters, and what you use as inspiration to guide their actions.
Yeah.
The inspiration is mostly just I make a note about what this character feels about the world, like as a core thing. And then I make all of my decisions from that place. So because Blackstone was built to scout and adapt and like change for different situations, the way that I play them is a person who is curious and questions things that people might consider to be obvious.
Yeah.
Because they're inquisitive about things. And so everything that they've experienced, and also everything about how people interact with them, is in a way that teaches them something.
Yeah.
Someone's just like, here's Corbin, because you should learn more about how to care about other living things. Clearly, this isn't like a thing that you consider because you don't experience emotions and life the way that organic creatures do.
Yeah.
For Rory, it was the core feeling for him is that he's a person who thinks about things and invents and constantly tries to think about things outside of the box. Part of that lives in Blackstone as their more curious trait, but also he looks at the world and things and situations as things that you can kind of see, separate, and then recombine into new things.
Yep.
Very Full Metal Alchemist here.
Yeah. There's a lot of anime references.
Like, a lot of Full Metal Alchemist is what you're getting when you deal with how Rory looks at people and situations. Very calm, very strategic, very, if you do this, then this, and if you do this, then this, and very interested in playing with things that allow him to make something new.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And that's why, truthfully, like I said, that Yu-Gi-Oh! Popped into my brain, because you have Blackstone, who is very like Yugi, new to the world, leads with kindness because they're also trying to understand everything, truthfully. And then you have Rory and Tam, who are the older spirits that are trying to figure out, one, why the hell they're here, and two, how they got here. But also have all of this knowledge, but even that is at times portioned away with the introduction of like Carmen, who that storyline was truthfully from Winx Club from the early 2000s, not the one that Netflix completely ruined. But like that led to a really interesting piece of narrative there. Sorry, Salem is very excited that you're here, Sin. So very, very he just fell off the computer table. He's fine. He was walking and totally missed a step. He's fine. But I think that was one of the things that was also intriguing to kind of talk to you about, to talk about these other places to go to, you know, where your creator had been, or where you were created too. And you getting to see those other automatons was very, very interesting. But there's been truthfully, a lot of the inspiration as a DM, and it's going to sound cheesy as all heck, a lot of it comes from you and just the conversations we have had. Because your brain just works in really phenomenal ways. And so it gets me onto a type of path of like, oh, wait, this is really good. I kind of want to expand on this a little bit more, or do this now that I have the vibe that Sin would actually resonate with this. So
I will say, also here, just shout out to the lovely people at Transplanter, and people like C and Connie. One of the things that I've also tried to lean into the more that I do AP related things is, rather than making a character with a bunch of dramatic things going on, I will pick one thing.
Yep.
And make that just a little bit more than usual.
Yeah.
When it comes to things. So if I just take curiosity, I'm just like, what if they were just not even a lot more curious, not like an all-consuming curious, but what if they were just a little bit more curious, ask questions just a little bit more often? Yeah. What if somebody were a little bit more excitable than some people when they get to do a new thing?
Yeah.
And sometimes just that little bit will take you really far. Just like a little sprinkle, like not even a whole lot, just like a little sprinkle. Like, it's one of those things that also applies in real life. When you do just like a little bit of something more, even like 1% more, it has a way of changing your life.
Yeah. And I think that's something we really latched on to with this series, right? Like, because the stereotype is so often like, let me have this really dramatic backstory where a bunch of stuff has happened, and like you know, the joke of like, I'm gonna have a backstory that's actually gonna hurt you, right? When truthfully, all of you gave me backstories that were far from it. And that presented a really interesting challenge. I'm totally not calling myself out with, you know, that backstory creation, by the way. But that created a really unique thing, because you all, in your backstories too, it was very clear what you all wanted to focus on. And obviously we have those discussions as the season goes on, and as even now we're having these discussions about like what the next arc is going to look like for your character. That has been really interesting to see how things have changed, or if they've stayed the same in any way. You were just so much. So that has been very, very interesting. But yeah, for me, for Blackstone specifically, because I've talked about the world at large, there's also some music pieces. Like, I don't know for those of you watching and who have watched the episodes, but like everyone has, and this popped up actually before the season started, everyone has a playlist. So when there's specific Rory, Blackstone, and Corbin moments, there isn't a specific instrumentation that will pop up. Same thing goes with the Stani. Same thing goes with Deodora. And even the NPCs as well, that will pop up when those moments happen. Because that popped up too, because at the cast, I don't think you all realized until I asked you straight up, if you all were instruments, what would you be? And then I tried my best to, specifically this season, hone that a little bit more. But there's always been some kind of instrumentation or musical theme that goes with, because that's just how my brain works as the ADHD at its best. And that is often what I listen to when I'm writing for all of you.
If I answer that question now, then I think currently Rory is a wood flute. Sorry, not Rory is a wood flute. Blackstone is a wood flute, and Rory is a harpsichord.
I could see that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Wonderful. Next question. With Ostani being introduced to the group, was Rory/Blackstone as hesitant to have someone new to trust in? As a DM, yeah, I would say so, considering how that became like a point of contention, not contention, but like that became a running theme of like you and Deodora being like, yo, chill, it's fine. She's got this. But I'd be curious your thoughts.
And when you say a point of contention being like, hey, like, don't get hurt, don't do things.
Yeah.
Okay, so having someone new to trust in, Blackstone has no opinions about it because Blackstone is in like their mind palace and reading like books or whatever, right? They're not here. But they're just like, I've heard good things. So like for Blackstone, it's just like, this new person is Deodora's friend. Deodora is a good judge of character. So if this person is Deodora's friend, then we're cool. Rory is in a very odd place here because Rory's old, very old. And it's just like Deodora is committed to understands the danger that they're in and is willing to see this through. I, for several reasons, am compelled to see this through, whether I want to or not. But you are a person who has been in this town and you live in the Temple District. You didn't sign up for this.
Nah.
And you are going to have to see some very ugly things about people and about the world if you decide to continue over here. And I have seen people come along who across the spectrum have been, including for Rory themselves, are just like, I have run into people who are smarter than me or more skilled than me who have been taken down by this nonsense, right? Because of things that they've had to see and things that they've had to endure and choices that they've had to make that have changed them forever. And I don't know if you're prepared for that. And I would rather you not, because some of this stuff is stuff that you don't, knowing about it changes the way that you see things. And if these people catch you unawares, it has a way of altering like your soul for the rest of your life if you survive it in the first place. Because what we're running into is people who have been like, we are siphoning the energy of people's souls into an otherworldly being. And some of this is also unmaking people from existence. And you are a very adorable centaur that wears bells. I feel like this is not safe for you. So it's a little bit less about trust and a little bit more about, it feels more like protecting a civilian from the front lines of war. And Asani being like, no, I don't mind being on the front lines, it's fine. And Rory being like, I don't know that you understand what you're dealing with. And that is a statement you can make. And Diodora having to be like, hey, you have to kind of let people like determine their own things. Please just let her do what she's gonna do.
Mm-hmm.
And him learning to be okay with it. So that's one side of this. The other thing for Rory is Astani is probably the first person organically that they have made friends with in centuries.
Yep. I would agree with that.
And so there's been a transition. Like Diodora has been there, but there's a combination of Diodora has become his friend over their experiences and as they've gotten to rely on each other. But that was a person that was kind of given to him in care of because Blackstone was just like, please protect my friends.
Yeah.
Astani is a person that both he and Diodora had to get to know together. It's a different type of relationship, right? So like there was a thing that he has said to Blackstone already, which is like, when I have to go back to where I came from for a while, I'm going to have to ask you to look out for somebody the way that you asked me to look out for your friends when I came out here.
I grabbed that question, Peanut. Don't worry.
Okay. I see something coming in hot from the presses. Okay. I was about to say, please don't do that.
There we go. For those of you that are wondering, follow up to your answer just now. I'm curious if the wariness from someone who has supposedly lived more comfortably comes from worry that they're not capable of going the whole way versus, Kitty, wanting to salvage the innocence, the bliss that you as a character no longer have access to, or something else. No, do not apologize, Peanut. That was great. I grabbed it and then moved it to the top because we're in that same vein. So you're all good.
So first thing, this lovely old lady right here
Baby.
on the camera, this is my old lady Akila, spelled like Achilles, except that it ends with an A, right? That's her, and she just likes to walk up to the desk and make me aware of her presence. So we're gonna take a moment to recognize the lady. Okay, are you ready to hop down now? Okay, off you go.
I wish to not be perceived anymore. Please, thank you.
Every now and then she's just like, I just want you to pick me up. She doesn't even want to stay here. She just wants to be held for a second.
That's what Salem does. Yeah, he's the same way. I had him in my lap and then he was over it. He was like, all right, I'm good now.
Teenagers. So that's one thing. But is the wariness from someone who has supposedly lived more comfortably? It's a little bit less that he would feel that way about anyone. He would feel about anyone who doesn't already know, right? Because he has, like, Rory is a person who comes from a time where that society took a whole town by surprise, and the only option that they had to deal with that problem was to separate that entire town from the afterlife to keep them from crossing dimensions, because at the time, Felk specialized in not only the sciences related to the use of, like, the applied use of spirit magic, but also extra dimensional travel. Like, it would have been a wrap for everybody if they had gotten a hold of the stuff that they knew. So they had to separate these people from passing on to the afterlife, and then had to hide the town in a protective bubble to keep people from coming into it to get the knowledge that they have.
And on top of that, too, to add to that, do a fail-safe so that way no one leaves said town. They are reliving the same day over and over.
Right? And so with all of that in mind, the wariness that Rory has comes from a You are not prepared for that.
Mm-hmm.
And to his knowledge, right, we've already seen that the way that this group operates, they're doing things in the background. There aren't a lot of people in the present time that are even aware enough of the society to counteract them completely. Only like a handful of them are, and they're doing the best that they can, but their hands are full.
Yeah.
Obviously, because look at what's happening, right? Like stuff like people have been like trying to keep it at bay, but like the war is starting to spill over into the world, and now it has come to people having to remember things that have long since been forgotten to try to deal with that problem.
And to be careful with that too, because you and Deodora for right now are the keepers of that knowledge. That's why when Starcrest, God, that role would have been so bad. If Starcrest had been able to pull that information about where Felk was, that's like a living battery of souls that would have just been compromised.
On
and
a
fodder.
minimum.
Yeah, on a minimum.
And then, so you have that. You also have things like, to explain this, right? It's not even about people living comfortably. Rory wouldn't want Tyneal to walk into the front line.
Yeah.
This. But I think he has a certain, like, there is a price he has paid for that he hopes no one else ever has to.
Yep.
So he can't, in good conscience, allow someone to draft themselves into that war without at least being fully aware of what they're getting into.
Yeah, because even with, too, and I think this has been an interesting thread, too, like, the idea of choice. Because Rory and Blackstone were both given a choice. You, like, in another timeline, the two of you are still back in Felk and, like, just have never left, right? But that was the main thing. Carmen asked for your consent to do this. Ultimately, she decided for you, but she still, that intention was there. You know? So I feel like it's similarly like there's a lot of responsibility getting thrust upon each of your shoulders. You've seen people come and go for hundreds of years with this situation, right? And so here's now someone new coming into it that they are really great, don't get us wrong, but they don't know everything that's going on. This is going to be a wake up, smell the coffee situation.
And there's a lot of things going on too. Well, a lot of people know what, but Rory is in a unique position where for a handful of things, he also understands why.
Yep.
And knowing why things happen or why things are happening hits different.
Yep. Yeah. There's a lot of layers. But it's fascinating. And again, I think it's a testament to you, but also the distinction that is there between both Rory and Blackstone, since they are two unique characters too. You know, playing two characters at once is a lot, though I do enjoy your back-to-back conversations. This is actually on your Rory and Blackstone playlist because it's called Unexpected Crossroads. So
fun times.
Very studious kind of vibe. You know, but yeah, it's again, it's a testament to you because they are so distinct. With that, are you ready to move on to the next question?
Okay.
Oh, Peanut, you came in for a great Q&A because one thing that I always love about all my castmates, but specifically Sin literally will ask many questions, but you will get essays in return, and like the essays that you actually want to dive into on reading because you're genuinely curious about what is going on. So you've tuned in for a great, yeah, that's definitely in character. The next question that came in
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot being thrown at your party in terms of things to do, take care of. How are you prioritizing those missions?
Child, we're stressing about them.
Yep. I feel
No,
like
we're
that's
stressing about them. At the end of every week, we're just like, right, wishes. What's happening with this? What's happening with this? What's happening with that? I need an update. I need a report. We have some people we haven't talked to in like a whole season. And I'm like, we need to talk about what's happening with that character that we haven't heard from since the beginning of season 3, end of season 2. What's happening back at this town? What's happening with that professor? There was a person that we rescued halfway through season 2. What happened over there? Like, that is a whole thing. There are questions that
yeah.
you don't even get to see how many of them there are about stuff we want to go backtrack to go find out about. And the way that we prioritize things is Jordan just goes, hey, I'm gonna blow something up. You should probably pay attention to it.
That's not what I do.
No, we're just like, well, what's going on with Carmen? What's going on with the Ouroboros Society? What's going on with Ty Neal? Hi, everybody. My name is D&D Jordan Lee, and I would just like you to know that shift weavings are dying in a mausoleum. Oh, well, I guess we have our priority for this week. That's kind of how that goes.
What? Me? Never. Well, I will say this too. I think with this season specifically, how we've changed the structure of things a little bit. So now there is that little flashback to whether it be years before or a few weeks before, to that I do think has presented all of you the opportunity as well to kind of explore those other questions, as well as, we do have interludes coming up, which are going to cover some of the things that we didn't get to see this season. So I think a lot of those questions will be answered. Of like, hey, checking in on like how Sam's doing, or what's going on with Deidre and their partner, question mark. So there's, I think, a lot of space for that to pop up and hit those things, because obviously where we're going to be picking up for season 5, it's going to be, I think, difficult to jump in with that. So yeah.
Well, there was a thing that happened earlier before Rory kind of stepped to the front as far as like the pilot driver goes, that Blackstone was like, hey, here is a thing that we learned about how to reach out to people. I think there are some things that Blackstone was just starting to learn about how expansive their uses of spirit energy could be for all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to revisit some of those things.
Yeah, I agree.
But we have I see that there's a question here.
Yeah.
And the bad thing is I already have an answer to this, and it's so sad. So if Rory or Blackstone were in a video game, which one would they be in? A couple of things. One, I just want you to know, when I see these questions, I think for people, they see them as these are kind of like similar people. I have got to tell you that each one of them is going to get a paragraph of answer different, because they are completely different entities. Rory would be in Divinity Original Sin 2 as one of the skeleton people.
Yeah, I could. Yep. I could. Yes, 1,000% yes.
Especially because the skeleton people are the people who have the most information about the history of the world, and so they're just like, I'm walking around with things that make me look normal to people, but I know a whole bunch of shit. I get extra options for certain things because I've just seen some shit and I'm that old. Blackstone, Hollow Knight.
I've seen the same thing in my brain. Same thing. Yeah, I was like, I feel like Blackstone would be Hollow Knight.
Blackstone is absolutely Hollow Knight or Risk of Rain. Like, they are absolutely a person. But Hollow Knight definitely a little bit more, because one, they're a person who's running through things, and what they see is a world is in shambles and people are responding to me in a certain way, but I don't yet know why. And now they're having to go places and see things and piece together. Oh, this must have happened. This must have happened. This must have happened. Especially, like, a really good example of this is actually this season where, like, Rory walks into a hotel and people are like, oh, hey there, Blackstone. And Rory's just like, who are these people?
Yeah.
How did you even get over here? How were you involved with this? Lily Darcy is just like responding to things and it's kind of like, Blackstone, where have you been and what have you done?
Yeah.
That has warranted all of this. Like, there's a lot of both Rory and Blackstone having that in common too, of constantly going to places and seeing how people respond to their presence and being like, what happened here? And then having to figure out why, or interact with people and seeing things that jog their memories and go, oh, that's what happened.
I could say too, if I'm being honest, both Rory Blackstone and this specific, again, to your point, they're very, very different. I do think it's funny you and I were both thinking Silk Song, Hollow Knight for Blackstone.
Not even Sixth on Hollow Knight, very specifically
Hollow Knight.
The very first Hollow Knight, because that's the whole thing. Okay, like, shameless plug here. I have a whole playthrough of this, right, on YouTube, where I spend time going, okay, so this is happening, but why is this happening? Or why are people trying to actively and aggressively attack my character? Like, what did they even do? And then you start fighting the bosses. But when you do, you start learning, oh, this is what was happening at that time that made them do the thing that they do. Or this is why they turned into the entity that they turned into. Oh no, oh no, oh no. Like, that is, Blackstone's whole thing has been like, trying to find a new purpose, making new friends, learning the importance of cooking cheesecake and making sure that it has an enclosure. Why is this happening to Greenwich? What is Ursula talking about? What do you mean? Wait, Javian? Is this my home? I didn't know I had one of these. Because keep in mind, right, at the entrance of season 1, what Blackstone learned was that there was a whole person guarding their access to their long-term memories.
Yup, Carmen. Love her so much. Miss her.
And that was, if you miss her, that's your fault.
No, it's not. It's not my fault.
You did this.
You lost her.
You did this.
You lost her.
Huh?
You lost her.
I did. Because, I could have cheated those roles if you wanted. You had... Okay, so I want Jordan, I want y'all to understand this. Jordan said that they're not responsible, as they had not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4. 4 revenant creatures tried to, like, stick a thing onto me and then remove it.
Who did you piss off? It's not my fault.
What do you mean, who did I piss off? Yeah. I didn't do anything except climb the mountain and try to get a piece of armor.
Who did you piss off? I'm asking Rory and Blackstone, who did you piss off? Because whoever you pissed off came at you with a vengeance. And that was them. That was not me. Okay? Okay.
Everybody take Jordan to court, because this is giving very, it's just what my character would do.
No, not even that, though. That's the funny thing. It's not even that. But I would say, for going back to what I was originally going to say, I could truthfully see Rory Blackstone in Kenna, Bridge of Spirits. Which, Sin, I don't know if you're familiar with, but I could see easily with learning about the unique abilities that they have and then using their spirit to heal. But they're also getting the story of what's going on through that spiritual connection, as well as helping those that have been corrupted in a lot of ways. That, to me, screams Rory Blackstone, specifically, with that nature and call. There are other ones that I could do. Like, I could see a little bit of South of Midnight with the weaving of tales, which I think hits for the vast majority of the cast members, I think. And again, also
that's definitely corruption. I think that is decidedly more Diodorus thing for sure.
It is definitely, but
see that similarity.
Yeah, you dip into it with how you use spirit. 1,000%, especially since you have perfected the art of the cinematic record. So like, I could definitely see that. Which, not gonna lie, that in my brain, every time we say that, I always think of Black Butler with Grell, the Grim Reaper. And he's watching the film of someone killed, but
okay, like I feel like this is a really good example of an earlier question that Sticky asked about how I think about character things, about the cinematic record stuff. So for those of you who have tuned into this season, although I don't think we've seen that a couple of times this season, but not as much.
Not as much, no.
Not as much. I gave Blackstone, mechanically speaking, Blackstone has telepathy. And I think when most people think about telepathy, they think about things in words.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at like the rules and stuff around it, it also includes images and sounds and things. So I tried to imagine a version of telepathy that engaged more of people's senses. And what that turned into was a lot of me like giving people like a drive-in movie experience where they just see a projection of all the things that have happened. Please see also, if you have not played the game, Final Fantasy.
Yes.
Final Fantasy, like, well, some people say 10, some people say X, but part 2, right? Where they have these different spheres that they pick up and it gives them like this like this scene encompassing holographic image of the thing that they're referencing or the memory that they're seeing. I think about things in those terms. So people kind of experience this person's memories at a distance. Like you can live through them a bit because you know how they were feeling at the time, but you could also see things that were happening.
Yeah.
And I think that for a lot of people has been a lot more fun to play with when I have to explain, hey, here's what happened, instead of me being like, hey, here's a whole bunch of words and notes you have to process. It is images and people and scenes and emotions that I get to describe. And that's been a lot of fun.
I would say, to go back to the question too, I could see Rory in Baldur's Gate 3, specifically in the Underdark at the, for those of you that know, I know Sin, you likely do not know, but it's the Arcane Tower. There's this massive tower where there's a bunch of automatons that are still active, but their creator is, we find out, dead. But they're still active and you can interact with the automatons. But I could see Rory so being there and just being a science bro of like testing things, interacting with the fungirl that are there, the mushroom people, helping them out, helping them to perfect other ways to communicate with others too. And then there are a couple of, specifically one, there is a mind flayer that defected from the hive mind group that lives in the Myconid colony, the fungal colony. And they use its pronouns, and they're also scientists. They're part of like this society trying to figure out like nature versus nurture and a bunch of stuff. And I'm like, I could see, I'm not gonna lie, I could see Rory like maybe not necessarily being part of that society, but at least interacting, maybe doing papers for them or something like that. But I could see Rory living and dealing with that. I don't know. Maybe one day we'll see that play out. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe. I don't know. It could be interesting. Here's a really good question. What does your character's perfect day look like? What would your character describe as having been the perfect day?
A perfect day?
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's the thing. I think this is a thing that we've already described this season.
A little bit.
When we were trying to build a bond with Corbin, there was like an image that they shared. Again, part of the cinematic record of it all, as it were, where there is a Blackstone is like mending materials and foraging for things and like discovering stuff. And Rory was out at a work table, like a drafting table, with this big rolled out piece of parchment doing a whole bunch of stuff. And Corbin was just over here just vibing with whoever they happened to vibe with. And I think at the time they were working at a project to make like a little like pocket, like a little like foldable fashion closet for Corbin to have and put all of their stuff into, like a bag of holding,
Yeah.
but made for them specifically and stuff like that. And I think that's what days like that look like. For Rory, it's more like discovering new things and experimenting with stuff. For Blackstone,
Yeah.
it's like going out and learning things and trying to find ways to connect with people based on the things that they learn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which most recently, before they kind of like went on like the journey that they're on, was, y'all seem to like connect a whole lot when people feed you things that taste good. I want to learn more about cooking.
Oh my God.
it went from the cheesecake thing to, remember that there was a scene in Felk where they saw someone making soup or whatever, like a stew. And they were just like, teach me how to make that stew. And then they had to roll a performance to see if they could try to like replicate it and try to memorize how to make that stew so that they could go places later and stuff. And Blackstone's like, making food, like good food makes people so happy. I want to learn more about how to make it.
Yeah. Listen, the whole discussion about soul food popped up because of because of Blackstone wanting to do that. So, and yes, cheesecake is soul food. So, we gotta love those moments.
Well, I mean, we found out, I know that there's banter about it as a meme, but what we have learned is that canonically in the world of Ampistrano, food does have a soul.
It does. Well, because you put a little bit of yourself into what you're doing. So, and I think the same is true for food, but also for those of us in the real world too. It's, I think, intrinsic. Transcendent might be the better word for it, because whatever you're doing, whether you're writing something or like drawing something, whether it's like its own piece or it's a fan fiction or whatever, like you are putting an aspect of yourself into it. So I think that was, thinking back to Jordan a couple seasons ago, kind of my mindset of like, okay, yeah. And like, if you don't put yourself into it, that's why I think one of the things you made, you didn't put anything into it in terms of like soul or feeling. And so it actually tasted like really crappy because it didn't have a soul. Like you didn't do that. So, that I think is also an interesting kind of question that pops up with AMP. Are you ready for our next one? This next one comes from Peanut. It's a really good one. Question, only if comfortable saying, just because it's a little personal, is there something valuable you have learned about yourself, others, the IRL world from playing TTRPGs, or more specifically, your characters in Ampistrano?
Well, the aceness remains, I guess.
Yep.
Because I still continue to be like, does this character have a romantic interest? Does that even make sense to have a romantic interest? And what we have is, hi, I am a soul that was built for a robot versus I am a person who is hundreds of years old and now lives in a robot. I don't know how that would even work. And so you have like one person just kind of like, in Blackstone's case, this is like, this hasn't even been considered. In Rory's case, this is in no way practical, and therefore I have not given this any serious thought whatsoever. It's very funny, because in a lot of cases, to the player, same. I've also had like a moment where I've considered having both of my characters talk to the player in real time in this game. So there's that. But I don't know if we have a reason yet for Blackstone to break the fourth wall.
I mean, listen, there's time. There's time. Go on. I'll let you know.
So there's that. The other thing, not necessarily valuable, but very interesting. When I say valuable, not like, oh, these are things I'm taking to the grave forever type of things, but things that I have found very interesting is that some people asked me about ways that the character and like the way that Blackstone particularly is characterized translates,
Mm-hmm.
and if that was intentional. So, dear
Gentle reader.
people on the gentle reader on the autism spectrum and or ADHD people, I am so happy that you feel seen,
Yep.
but I promise you, I did not go to this character sheet and went, Blackstone is autistic. I went, Blackstone is curious and doesn't know things and asks a lot of questions.
Yep.
And so it was really interesting when about a quarter of the way through season 2,
Yeah.
Jordan was just like, I got some questions about this. And I'm just like, at some point, I am going to have to talk about that. If anything, it's one of those, you never know how the way you choose to characterize a thing is going to make someone possibly feel seen in a way that they weren't expecting. So I think that's really cool.
I agree. And that's actually what I was going to say, at least for me with this game, specifically Amp Ace. Stay strong, primarily. And I love that. I think also I was one of those people that as we were going and asking these questions, I was like, okay. Like I knew ADHD in the background, but then like through talking with you and talking more about Rory and Blackstone and the distinctions too, that's where truthfully the idea of, hey, I might be also autistic popped up. And I think it made it easier for me to kind of, and I know I've talked about this on my regular gaming stream channel, I think it made it a little bit more digestible because it was another representation. I think a lot of times our minds go to like the stereotype when it comes to those representations, right? Which are often the worst. I will fight someone in the street. They're oftentimes the worst when it comes to that because they're oftentimes too, along with it, they're the most extreme. They're the most extreme. And if you look at like the most extreme, like that experience is valid, but that's not my experience. Right? So through the discussions with you, through seeing how you have been playing Rory and Blackstone, that and obviously therapy, but through all of that, that kind of helped me get around some hidden biases that I didn't even know I had against myself. Right? Because, like, there's nothing wrong if you are ADHD. There's nothing wrong with you. Right? There's nothing wrong with Rory or Blackstone in that retrospect with how they interact with the world. So why should I feel a bias in allowing that to be a categorization for myself? Same thing is true with, like, disability. Right? Which Blackstone and Rory for me also represents a lot of like the chronic pain, chronic illness too. And that comes into play with some of the spirit stuff as well. When your soul, you can do X, Y, and Z, but your body will not let you. And I wanted this game to be a space where that representation was noted. We see it oftentimes in D&D and even too with like cartoons and stuff like that where people get injured and then they're healed up immediately and then they go about their day. Or they might be injured for an episode. Whereas with like what we've been doing here with spirit points and the fact that it can't come back right away and you might be super low, I think that's representative to how we all feel. To me, it makes these characters more intriguing. They're going to have their good days. They're going to have their bad days. And they're going to take time. But also, who are they beyond just a sword and a mask or a dagger in the case of Rory? It just, for me, brought up a lot of that kind of discussion. And I wanted that to be presented into our game, right? Because there are 12 amazing actual plays out there. If I'm putting forward Ampistrano, what makes us different? We have those representations, and it's not done as a means of tokenization rather, but done in a very meaningful way in everything that we move. We move with meaning, with purpose, with respect and sensitivity when it comes to those things.
And
Yeah.
on that note, because I feel like this is when we talk about unintended,
Yeah.
but hey, I feel like this is decent representation. Right. And I'm going to say that where I'm going to keep this part, I think, somewhat brief, but I do want to plant this flag here.
Yeah.
There's also something to be said about plurality in this for people who have those experiences too, because you have a person who has, hi, I'm in here. Hi, I'm also in here. And we have either the same or very different feelings about the same situation that we're experiencing. But what people experience in the world is there is one body with occasionally different color eyes or whatever that will talk to us about a thing. And it's just like, oh, you went from very academic to I'm going to blow up this person at the top of the bone tree because fuck that guy. And I think for people, they don't see the internal conversation that's happening. They just see the output of those things happening and what that's like. And I think that's also interesting. So
I agree.
There's that. And as far as the parts about where Jordan was talking about feeling seen in a certain way, I think as well, when it comes to autism and how I understand that from seeing things like, let's say, clips of The Good Doctor in media or whatever, right? There's a certain way that things hit for you when they are modeled a certain way.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I think aceness hit differently for me when I saw other ace people just kind of existing, because there is a thing that people think about what ace people are like or what aromantic people are like, and then it's me being like, I know ace people who are married and are in loving relationships, loving long-term relationships, aromantic people who also have like partners and are having a lovely time of it or whatever. Because you get to eventually see those things modeled for you, and it's like, that looks a little bit more like me, and that's great. So any of that we're able to offer you on the show, by all means.
Yeah. I think too, to kind of expand, because they also mentioned like TTRPGs in general. TTRPGs has allowed for me to realize that I was not only ace, but I was also bi, that I use she, they pronouns as well. Like getting that practice of like, hey, this character is going to use she, they pronouns. Oh wait, that feels nice. That resonates. Like, I think this game, and if you have a space where you're able to explore those things safely, I think has given a lot of things for me. It's also like, I was always too, like, and this is not a pity party, but I was always the person that didn't really have a lot of friends. Truthfully. And like was that person that on group projects was doing everything by myself. And this whole experience of running an actual play, doing the D&D, has connected me to some of the most amazing people out there. And I've learned more, I would say, probably in the last 5 years than I have in like 33 something years of life, truthfully. Including like who I know I can count on, but also like, hey, I don't have to do everything by myself. There are other people, and the world is so much better when you allow other people into that world, because that's what Ampistrano is, right? Like, I write a lot of it, but like a lot of it is also discussions from people that are still within the cast, like obviously Sin and Fair and Maz, but also conversations with Robo and April and Dimples, and even Cal. Back then, I know that's not his real person's name. I'm just blanking on it for the moment, and I can only think of his character.
Which one?
Remember Cal? Caldrix?
Yep. The Dragonborn.
Yeah. I'm blanking on his name. I can picture him right now. I can't remember it for right now. But
okay.
He holds a very deep place in my heart. I'm doing the neurospacey thing where I can't remember names and faces right now.
That's fine. I got you.
Thank you.
I'll go find that for you.
But like everyone has had a piece of this world, and we have an incredible lore keeper team too, who also help build things behind the scenes. Lamia, for instance, has helped out a bunch with behind the scenes stuff and helping keep track because the world is so vast. Let's see who else. Ambrose has also been instrumental with building things, and for me especially, because I tend to hyper focus on things so much, with just making sure that timelines make sense, the story makes sense, all the wheels and things are connecting in a way that actually makes sense, and there's nothing that is left to chance. Pandora, who, yes, created our lovely overlays, but that was after several long discussions about why things are the way they are. And Pandora's been doing a bunch of stuff. And then obviously our wonderful mods, which, whether they realize it or not, you all are also doing it, and helping to shape the world. So yeah, there's a lot of joy with being able to share something that for so long was just in my head and several binders. There's a joy in being able to share that. Obviously there's drawbacks, because some people are gonna just be mean. It's just part of the business when you're putting yourself out there. But I think truthfully, I'm very humbled and honored that the people that have done things have left amazing ripples in their wake, and have allowed us to build this incredible world. I do, and I've shared this with the cast, a real dream of mine is to make this a campaign book. And yes, I have been getting questions. There will be a campaign 2, but we need to get through campaign 1 first. But we do I have ideas for campaign 2? Yes, but I cannot even think about that yet until we and there's still so much story to tell with this campaign. I can't think about campaign 2 yet. But I do want to eventually have like a campaign book that you all then can play. Because I think, this is our version of D&D, so it's not right on the books, but it's our version of it, and I think it's incredible with that mindset. And I think it makes it more accessible too. Sorry, I know it was a long tangent. I apologize, but
oh no, we are here.
But yeah, like this world means a lot, so. Sin, are you ready to move on to the next question?
I am.
Wonderful. It's been really cool to see Rory and Blackstone connecting more with their spirit side. I think they mean, because part of the question was left off, I think, what aspect of its homebrew, I think they're meaning in regards to the Jewel Summoner that you've started to potentially play with, appeal to you for Rory and Blackstone, and what inspired that class, as well as the spirit elements.
So I'm assuming it's the spirit elements primarily, but we'll talk to that in about a second. By the way, I have a note for you in the chat, in the Zoom chat.
Thank you, Finn. Thank you. I'm so sorry, Finn.
Because I know that it will eat your brain alive.
It will. Thank you. You know me so well, Finn. Finn Archer. I remember now. Yes, my brain is so fried, y'all. I'm sorry.
So about their spirit side, the thing about this is trying to connect with it has been kind of a baseline thing since season 1, because I, as a player, like having weird ways to explore the world. Mm-hmm. So especially if it involves like supernatural means, right? Like aura sight, the ability to talk to ghosts and spirits, all of that stuff. Love it. Eat that up, put it directly in my veins. Whether I'm playing online or even like at just normal friend tables, when Pathfinder came out with a class that the whole thing was about either allowing spirits to use you as a medium to communicate or forming bonds with them so that they give you special powers, I immediately jumped into that while it was like still in beta, right? I love that stuff. Paranormal investigators, all of that. Like, sign me right on up for that. So, that we have that. The other thing is for Rory, in terms of what they can do, Rory is kind of like an idea of what Blackstone could become, although I think it'll be a little bit different. Is what Blackstone could become in the future. Because Rory's whole thing, while he was alive, was he experimented with kind of like just energy. He like stepped far enough back from looking at things in terms of, is this arcane or is this nature-based magic or all of this, and just went, there is one kind of energy that all of existence comes from, and I want to play with that a bit. And that was how this has been for him. So his use of things is a little bit more refined. For Blackstone, it's just like, you have some baseline functions, but we haven't told you what to do with it. We're going to see what you come up with. And so Blackstone's whole thing is being like, I wonder how far I can send a thought from this mountain. Right? Things like that. And a lot of it is based on, well, this is what my big brother used to say about these things. Yeah. I wonder how I could use that now. So that's been a whole thing, as far as the how spirit stuff goes for them. So for Rory, it's applied science. For Blackstone, it feels a little bit more, at this point, because of how they're built, like sorcery. It responds to their instinct to want to do things, as opposed to Rory, who's just kind of like, this is well documented, it's noted, it has scientific studies, labs, notes, footnotes, citations, all of this other stuff. And playing with it has been kind of fun, because Rory is kind of like, well, how do I anchor this soul to the world to slow down this degeneration process? Whereas Blackstone was just like, how do I make a cover for this cake I just made so it doesn't spoil? Like, that is what you have. It's a very adult understanding of what this is versus a very childlike, more wonder-focused understanding of that thing.
I think, too, if I can expand on that as well, because I agree with you completely. I also think the introduction of Blackstone's true purpose, the reason why he was invented, obviously with the same thing that you mentioned with Rory trying to be like, okay, well, how do I stop this degeneration or soul ability being stolen? And one thing I asked the cast, and I ask them every time we're rolling for their spirit points, because they don't just get it back after a long rest, is what are you doing? And typically Blackstone would walk around town and mend things that were broken. And that clued into something to me. I was like, okay, that is, I feel like, Blackstone trying to find some purpose. And then it became revealed later on that he was eventually, like, he was built to be essentially a med cleric, like a spirit med cleric, emergency, like in the field, weaving soul back together that had been like taken away or was being lost. So, and then the fact that, Sin, you were so down with that when, you know, based off of the kind of, think of the video game tree of like the level up of where you want to go, like through talking with you about it, that brought up a whole other conversation of you picking from column A and column B and making it your own when it comes to that too.
And like on that note, right? When I talk about making Blackstone's core trait curiosity and adaptation,
Yeah.
it's this, right? Because in my backstory, did I imagine Blackstone being a spirit like a person who mends spirits, or like a cleric in that sense? No. But there's also the thing of Blackstone takes in information and that turns into, because that's also a thing that the game mechanics let you do. I have expertise levels. I can anytime I level up, I can rearrange those.
Yeah.
So there is something to be said about how that's also going to influence where those expertises land, because the world is changing. The dangers that they're changing to, that the dangers that they're dealing with are changing. And with that, Blackstone might just go, I need, like, the need of the moment is this. It also lends itself to, do you want to have the ability to mend spirit points? Well, I have seen people get hurt by things, and that ability would be really useful. As a side note, back in like halfway through season 1, the early parts of season 2, when we just like, why are you even telepathic or whatever? Blackstone was like, in school, I learned that telepathy existed, and I am built for being able to move and do things in silence.
Yeah.
That seemed like a really useful ability. So he just literally went and learned to be telepathic, just went and absorbed the knowledge on how to do that, and like made that a part of their capabilities, because they're just like, it's useful.
Yeah.
So be like, do you want to learn how to mend spirits? Sure, it's useful. And you also see that same kind of spark in Rory too, of being like, hey, Deodora, how do you experience the shadow weave? Or the shift weave? How does that work?
Yeah.
And was just like, this is a thing that I think it would be useful to learn more about. The way that they go about it, again, probably a very different thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if when Blackstone returns goes, I have a base of that knowledge to work with. Maybe I can see what more I might be able to do with it at some point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how a lot like arcane magic, it functions more in a trickster way rather than like specifically like a wizard, where it's a more traditional thing. It'll be like a more, well, this is probably not the most common way to use shift weave, but let's see if we could use it that way.
Yeah. I would say, sorry, I'm having a very ADHD thought too, but just the video game question is still in my head. I could also see Blackstone and Rory being in Dragon Age, because you mentioned that the focus of Blackstone is curiosity, and they have obviously like the spirits of the pride demons and wrath, but then they have a lot of curiosity kind of spirits, and I could see Blackstone being that 1000%, and Rory also there too. Truthfully, I could see them working with like Emmerich and doing all of that. Yeah, enters justice and Lucanus and spite. Exactly. Yeah, Peanut, you knew exactly where I was going with that. Of those two kind of souls in one body, but also the experience of curiosity and understanding too, and then the balance of life and death and what that is.
I want everybody to know at this moment, back at the end of season 2, earlier part of season 3, one of the things that we considered as a Patreon reward was that after we hit a certain subscriber point, to have everybody play through a game. I think it was Baldur's Gate 3 specifically. You're going to play through that game, but in character.
Yeah. I mean, it could still happen.
So, I mean, if that's a thing that you want to see.
I'm just saying. Since
Patreon.com/AmpistranoDND.
Listen. Since never played BG3, I would come in with Sam. I would be little Sam. Little halfling. Jewel summoner.
Okay, so Sphinx. Sphinx, funny enough, Blackstone already knows that. It's tied to, and this is something that's kind of important, right? Blackstone's whole thing is they're functionally immortal as long as they have a reason to exist.
Yep. Yeah, then we know there's a man. We've got a couple things out there to get our Patreon going, just because there is more stuff that we want to do. It's just, it costs money and esta economia. So we want to make sure everyone's getting paid for their time and stuff. But we do have things. So if you want us to, be able to do more, you can pop it there. But also, if not, like, y'all just being here helps out a ton too. I think too, what I'll add on, because I kind of already discussed what inspired the spirit aspect, which was like, hey, I want that to be more meaningful. So one of the homebrews, which Sin is teasing maybe going and multi-classing into, is I created a wizard subclass known as the Jewel Summoners, which Sam is actually. Because I'm that neurospicy. This should have been the sign too of like, why does it have to be diamonds for Revivify? Why does it have to be something very, like a diamond of a specific worth? So finding meanings, because I'm a horoscope girly, astrology girly. I love the meanings of stones and the stars and stuff as well. Why don't we bring that into our game? So, and for me, granted, I've done it now with Sam, but I have never actually played a wizard before. Because it's against the way my brain works. My brain doesn't like it. I've talked about it on stream. I am mainly melee with a little bit of magic. I am a ranger, but I am like the Aragorn ranger of I will be in your face, but also blasting you and barraging you with my arrows and magic.
So I want to point this out here because when Jordan originally put out a Jewel Summoner class, it was with an amethyst stone.
Yeah. My birthstone.
So, also my birthstone, because our birthdays are the same month. And so I'm just like, oh, it's amethyst, say less.
Yeah. Yeah, so Sam, who you didn't see this season, if you've watched prior seasons, he is very much present. He's just a little halfling college student. There's actually a really fun one-shot that I do for him. Shameless plug for Start Playing, where you can help him get to school, because he isn't, though. Anyways, he's the joy. And so he has an amethyst that he wears on a band on a glove. And from it, he has been able to pull that into like this amethyst armor that will manifest, kind of like a mage armor. But also he can turn that kind of gem energy into weapons, and more primarily, he summons an amethyst panther to fight alongside him. So that was for me how my brain wanted to handle wizard stuff, because then he can do melee stuff, because I really didn't want to just deal with long distance shit and a bunch of spells. I really wanted him to be fun. You actually can see him fight in season 1, because you all go to Fight Club behind the bar. Or no, it was season 2. It was season 2.
Where you see Sam just being like, now that I have come out of this traumatic experience, I've decided I'm not going through this again. And so you find Sam fighting at the club.
Yep. He's been learning how to fight, doing a little bit more hand-to-hand combat, just because he's been having some difficulties with his gem, because his gem hasn't been shining, because his soul was almost taken. So he's been going through it, but he's really sweet. And it, like I said, for me, it made the wizard class a little bit more interesting. This is obviously before I had really seen, I think the Unearthed Arcana hadn't come out yet with a wizard that was melee based. So this for me was my answer to that, but it also, like I said, presented a really interesting opportunity of like, hey, we could do that, right? And since we've been having conversations, like it would be very easy for Black Stone to be a Jewel Summoner, because Black Stone is made of stone. He is not made of metal. So like that is really interesting with the different styles. And I liked too this is my drawback with like the like draconic sorcerer and stuff, is like the color that you are represents the type of damage, and I didn't want that to be intrinsic. I wanted it to be based upon the jewels and stuff like that. So that's why diamonds are often associated with death, and they can only be used in the Citadel and used for revivify and stuff. So there was a lot of like looking at how we were
what
doing
you said, the amethyst was like what, divination, I think.
Yeah, because it was truthfully, it was like, okay, amethyst is like divination.
Oh no, we know what I was about to say, we know what kind of stone that is, but I think that's just one of those. Like, Jordan is the I go to school here, like I am the astrology girly. I don't necessarily go here, but I did read like a couple of books just so I could like understand the conversation and follow along.
So
but then again, I am the kind of person who did in fact during the Kickstarter days. I may or may not have really gotten into a handful of things.
Mm-hmm.
Did I get the mycologist primer? I did.
Did
I get the geologist primer? I did. Did I get a whole book on flower language? Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, there's eventually, and we're not sponsored by them, but their dice are stunning. Dispel Dice has a bunch of dice that I've definitely coded in my brain as like Ampistrano, as well as Die Hard Dice. Again, not sponsored, but they're incredible. That I'm like, and they have an amethyst set, both of them do, that I'm like, oh, that's Ampistrano. That's specifically Sam coded. So like there's some really cool things that you can do with that. But yeah, I wanted to kind of expand, and for me, make a class that was not accessible, just because that's just it's just not how my brain works. I've tried. I just can't do it. I like to be in people's faces. That's why my ranger is always melee. I like to be the problem both up close and far away. And so like that's just, for me, it made it more fun, but then it, like I said, led to a whole cool thing that we could do in the world. So there are noble families. Sam is from a noble family who outside and above table, we know they're assholes. Sam looked down, it was like a sweet bean, but his dad's a bit of an ass. But like they're noble families that all have these gems and stuff like that. And it's also a sign of status. So, because that kind of magic can't necessarily be learned, it's passed down. So there's a whole conspiracy board that I had with Rory being, whether he knew it or not, but like the creator of that kind of magic, as he was trying to figure out how he was going to have something that a spirit could temporarily house themselves within an automaton like Blackstone. And metal never worked. Metal folds under the weight of a person's soul. So the gems became a whole other thing. And there are some bad sides to the gems that we may see pop up in this upcoming season. Just gonna say. But like yeah.
We'll have to talk about it.
We'll have to talk about it. Ready to move on to our next question. We only have a couple more. So Blackstone has been able to reunite with Rory, their creator, and at one point Carmen as well. What has it meant to Rory and Blackstone to reconnect with their roots? Do Rory or Blackstone have any resentment towards Carmen? Have they processed that loss?
So, as far as, are we talking about the loss of Carmen at the mountain or just in general?
I think both. From my understanding of the person who asked this, I believe it's both.
So, what has it meant to reconnect with their roots? I think it has meant a lot with the passing of time, because the more they know, and part of why Blackstone is where they are, what they have learned is that not knowing things has led to people being hurt. So now they are collecting knowledge to better protect their friends. That's what connecting to roots has meant for Blackstone. Yeah. I have more capability to protect the people that I care about. And keep in mind, the people that they care about Blackstone, I don't think like understands that there are some large implications.
Yeah.
But it's a lot like Gone from Hunter x Hunter. They're like they're
Yeah.
doing good. They're like, I think ultimately they're going to do good things, but the good that they do is very focused on. There is like whatever the good directly in front of them is the thing that they're trying to do. They're not thinking like 3 years from now or 5 years from now or decades from now. They don't like think long term like that. It's just like if I don't know things, Theodora gets hurt. Theodora has said that people are important to her. If I don't learn things, those people get hurt.
Yeah.
My friends get hurt. People they care about get hurt. Places that have people that I care about get hurt. And that is their understanding of the world, is these expanding concentric circles of people that they care about or connections that they make. It's not like I want to be a hero.
Yeah.
It's my friends and the people that I care about give me purpose. I want to protect that.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
And so there hasn't been a lot of resentment from them. It's just learning. Oh, well, you didn't know a thing. Well, why didn't you want me to know that? Because it protects you from doing this. Well, yes, but if I don't know that, I can't protect my friend, so I have to know now.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Well, we're going to let you know, but it's dangerous for you to know. It puts a target on your back. We were trying to protect you. And like, for nothing, part of Blackstone's backstory is that a lot of people were just like, you have to wear a mask, you have to stay out of public sight and vision, you have to do all these things because it is dangerous to you in a way that could potentially be dangerous to other people, for people to know that. And the first person in nearly 300 years to tell him otherwise has been Theodora.
Yep. Yep, I would agree with that. And that, to take it back to another question, the demasking, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is one of the things that I love.
Like the most literal on the nose reference you could make, right?
Yeah, you do that so specifically with noting whether you realize it or not. Yes, I'm wearing the mask. No, I'm not wearing the mask. And like,
well, I mean,
breadcrumbs. I love it.
Well, I mean, if we're being very real about it, the places that they put those masks on are on purpose. Things like places that I used to be where people don't know who I am now, or places where I'm not known at all. I have to wear this. But around people who have proven themselves to be safe, I don't have to wear this thing.
Yeah. Which is a very real neurospicy experience. Like,
and also like the low-key undertone of me being like that, wearing that mask in a way protects other, like some of that masking I have to do for me to navigate society, but some of it is also because it causes problem for other people if I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. It's chef's kiss.
A whole thing.
It's so good.
Rory, I think, feels a little bit different. Rory has been lying dormant, and I think has a little bit more context for things.
Yes.
So for Blackstone, everything is discovery. For Rory, everything has just been like, it's like Qual waking up from slumber in Freerin and being like, oh, so has this been what the intervening time has been like? Oh, okay, wow. And it's like figuring out how to like work things out in real time and kind of like catching up and absorbing things.
I agree with that.
I don't think Rory feels resentment toward Carmen. It was a massive decision, but he's also aware in the process of that she had to also let go of a person that she loved, because like that was her partner that had to feel like her partner had to feel part of that magic.
Yeah.
Right. Carmen's partner was a fairy. Was a fairy.
Yeah.
So, in order to feel the magic that protects Felk from being like found or infiltrated by people, they had to basically sacrifice everything that made her a fairy to do it. Like, it took everything and everyone. Is there... I think it's more... if there's any resentment, it's not toward Carmen, but toward the situation that caused it that caused her to have to make that decision.
Yeah.
I think at the time it's just like, for Rory, at the time it was like, Carmen, what the hell are you doing? I think with the passage of time, there's also been I still don't know if I would have done this, but you did the best that you could in a desperate situation.
Yeah.
And that's something that he has empathy for. His resentment mostly lies at, I can't believe we're already this close to them potentially succeeding at something that we worked so hard to prevent the first time.
Yeah. I think to add on to that too, right, to go back to what is the season 2, 3, some of the seasons, I'm gonna lie, blend together just because there's been so much. When you all are in the forest, the Library of the Forest with Javian and experiencing all of this through the Shift Weavian knowledge.
That was 3.
Thank you, 3. That whole piece was so fascinating. I think too feeds into the fact that there were a lot of pieces that moved very quickly, but also there were people that were in power that were not empowered with all of the knowledge. And so they had to make the best decisions that they could with what information that they had.
And mind you, with an enemy that specifically knew how this stuff worked to keep information out of the appropriate hands and things.
And then that fear of, if we do not do something now, this, and I know I keep talking about it, but it is the difference between Felk and Vanya, which we also saw then in the following season, of a city that was not prepared and then did not have leaders with that forthwith. And also the other really important thing too, because we were seeing this within Felk, leaders that were selfish, but leaders that also were willing to sacrifice themselves and do, granted, in the eyes of probably many, a very selfish decision, but in order to lead a selfless impact. You know what I mean? Like, they literally sacrifice themselves for the greater good. And not only that, ensured that this information, whatever information is still within Felk, is still secret. Is still sacred. That those lives have not been wiped away, are not being used to feed a great beast. But also the key, which in this instance is Rory Blackstone, that this will not occur again. Not under your watch, at least. And with, obviously, the wings of Carmen and all of those threads kind of interwoven together. And so it's not, hey, Rory and Blackstone are the chosen one. Not at all. They're chosen in that specific story because of the threads. But no. And we've seen that. We've seen that with Carmen being taken away.
As far as if they've had time to process it, I would say the processing for Blackstone looks like trying to find out about all of those things that had been to try to be in a better position to find out what will be. That is where that processing has gone into.
Yeah. Agreed.
Rory, I don't think in that sense has properly had time.
Yeah, you all haven't really had a moment.
The thing is, but on the one hand, he hasn't had time, but on the other hand, the place that he comes from is, I am already a spirit that just cannot pass on. So
Yeah.
I don't know where Carmen is, but it's just one of those, a calm resolution to find her, because he has, in his eyes, all the time in the world to do it, right? He does it, and it's also like informed by this impossibly long perspective of being like panicking,
Yeah.
raging out at people, kind of being unhinged about it, isn't going to bring her back. The enemy that he's dealing with is someone that has existed for nearly 1,000 years and has woven their influence into a number of things. And if he's going to find it, it's going to be cold efficiency that is going to get him there. So he is thinking it's a little bit less like heat and fire and more like a very cold and settled rage of being like, I will end these people if it's the last thing I do.
Yeah.
Which, as a person who is a spirit scientist, is probably a dangerous thing, because there's a difference between stabbing a person with a spirit knife and stabbing a cheesecake.
Well, I think too that adds into, again, what we know about the society, with the fact that they're exploiting what is seen as like the negative aspects of humanity, of anger, betrayal, deceit, deception, lies, backstabbing, all of that. So if you think about it, I mean, it is brilliant by the society. It's fucked up, but it is brilliant because they are doing these things knowing exactly what buttons to press to push you to that moment. And then it is up to you in your character, obviously. Do you feed into that? Because, like I said, this is very interesting. This season, you all reached where the kind of home campaign that I had built this originally, this was a one-shot that exploded. You all reached that point, and the outcomes were very different. I think literally there was a fight in the cemetery where someone got corrupted, and it was one of the players, because they were so angry. They just fed into it, and so they ended up lashing out against their teammates, kind of somewhat similar to like Greenwich in season 1. So it's been very interesting to see the differences, and especially each of you have something to be mad about. Each of you have something to be pissed about, truthfully. And it's been very interesting to see how you all have like stuck into that gray area and then walked yourselves back a little bit.
No, I think, and well, like, here's the thing too. I think part of it has been the party not being an overly, they're not like, hey, we're just ignoring these and we don't have bad feelings, but it's giving people space to be like, yes, you have so much to be angry about. And yes, we're going to be angry and grieve about it. And we're going to take that time. But we also have to remember, we have things to do to prevent this from continuing to happen. And we have to let that be the focus. And especially in my case as a character, because if that, like, it will literally kill me.
Yeah.
From the standpoint of the game mechanics, it will literally kill me to be consumed with rage, because it's I either live to protect people or I live to serve that rage. It can't be both, or it can't be in between. Like that, my life force is attached to the thing I commit to. So that's a whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think at some point,
I think it'll come up probably in this upcoming season a bit more.
Well, I think there may be a thing, but I think a lot of it is going to be, Rory has been more focused on, I have been given the simple task by my brother, air quotes and other things, to protect their friends. I have to let that, for now, I have to let that be enough, because the other option would be, bump all this, I'm going to go and find Carmen myself and go rescue her. And that means leaving everybody behind.
Yeah.
Right? And he is aware of that choice. Blackstone is also, by extension, aware of that choice, although it doesn't hit quite the same, you know? So it's the there's that. As far as processing goes, I haven't allowed myself to sit in and process things that I feel about it or what have you, because the danger is too great. I have not had the time.
Yeah. I agree with that.
And of course, hi, welcome to a very non-political game where this has no bearing on the real world whatsoever.
Not at all. I know we've talked about in our wrap up, but like that has been fun this season, is to kind of introduce that political aspect, which we saw hints of it in season 1, but again, that was a different time in the game and you all were much lower levels. So it's been interesting to see you all interacting with it. But speaking of now and prior points in the campaign, what is your favorite place you've been to in the campaign so far and why?
What? So obviously Felk, because it had like all of these, like it had like a whole field to experiment with new types of magic, and it had druids doing cool things, and it had trees, and it had pools, and it's like a city built into like a forest, and like buildings are literally in the trees. It was really cool. They have like all these ironwood trees that they built their buildings into. It was so cool.
Yeah.
It was so cool to look at. There was also that one town that was connected by a series of bridges.
Oh, Vibran.
That was also really cool because like who doesn't like a little shanty town, you know? Like that was
it was a little Louisiana boardwalk vibe, yeah.
Yeah, like that was fun. I had a wonderful time with that one.
Yeah. Both bring me a lot of joy. This question actually comes from one of our lore keepers. Blackstone and Rory have gotten visions and letters seemingly about / from other family. What do you think, and what can you say about who else in their family may still be around?
I will tell you, I don't think it's a family member in that sense.
Interesting. Okay.
When I think about these things, I think about cultural references. So, hi, in case you did not know, I'm a whole ass black male. Right? Okay.
Shocker.
So I think there's the kind of the culture that people have of calling people their brother, their aunt, their uncle, their cousin, because they share a people or a culture or something like that, without it necessarily being a blood relation, I think might be a bit more along the lines of what's happening here.
Which would stand, going with the finale information, is that you were all adopted minus Carmen. So it's not far off.
Because that's the other thing. Carmen is a whole, I believe, an elf, right? Elf.
Yeah, she's the blood daughter of the 2 Felk tribe leaders. And then there was, you were Rory was the second born. And then there were /R come to be 2 other siblings. So there were 4 kids in total, you and Carmen included. But Carmen was the only like blood relation. Everybody else was adopted in. So you were adopted because Rory is a half orc. So
like, right. So like that's a whole thing of being like, and the backstory is written, if Rory has blood relations, we don't necessarily know who those blood relations are yet because he's adopted.
Yeah. But it could be, well, to their point then, right? It could be an adopted sibling.
I mean, it either could be one of the adopted siblings, or like it could be like, hey, so about the people that you were adopted from, or how you ended up here, or what have you. It could be any of those things. But I don't you haven't played enough around with it yet for me to have any notion of who this could possibly be.
Yep.
Or who in their family might be around. I will say there was one thing I wanted to explore, but that came up as like a side quest thing where we got to be people in the past before Felk blew up. And I think there might be an item floating around still if we find it that might have an answer to that question.
I mean, listen, you know people, and you can certainly make contact, likely with Javian. You just gotta be careful of the threads that you use, for lack of a better term, to get that information. But the information is there. Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see how that goes.
We'll have to see. All right, this is our final question sent in from Sleazy. Is there a character in Ampistrano that you think you would be besties with in real life? On the other side, is there someone you throw hands with, respectfully or disrespectfully? Sail.
Okay. Me as a player, I think I'd be cool with Sineal.
Mm-hmm. I can see that. Yeah.
I think it'd be cool with Sineal for sure. I think I could I think Deidre would be cool to talk about when it comes to like specialized like knowledge and stuff like that, being like, hi, we have a special interest. Like go and talk to Deidre about those things.
Yep.
I think the person I would want to spend the most time with is Javian, because it's kind of like, you made history really cool and I'd have to do it. Javian's really cool.
I want a whole afternoon with Javian just to explore his library, and like both the books but also the shift weave library with the objects to go back into the past, into memories and stuff. Oh my god, so cool.
I would have a time. People that I would throw hands with, well, there are some people that I would disrespectfully throw hands with, but they're dead. So,
well, some of them aren't.
Well, I mean, Pityweather's gone,
right? But y'all were, you were kind of throwing hands at Ferrero. He's alive.
I also would throw hands with Aaron, but there's that.
Yep.
And like, I say that because those particular bits of hatred are personal. Mm-hmm. Besides, I wouldn't dream of throwing hands with Ferrero, because that would be stepping into Theodora's territory, and I'm not about to touch the food on her plate. I'm not. It won't be me.
You could season it more.
Huh?
You could season it more.
That's what that phantasmal force spell was for. So there's that, right? Now, a person I would throw hands with respectfully, Sam.
Yeah.
Because I think it would be therapeutic for him.
He needs a little bit of loving right now. He's going through it.
I think it would be a thing of like, throwing hands respectfully would be Sam. I think it would just be like one of those things where you see people in an anime like fighting each other because it's just like, this is how we bond or how we get to know each other. Very Kakashi Guy situation.
Yeah, I agree with that completely.
Goku Vegeta situation or whatever. Very that.
I could also see Jiraiya Naruto a little bit too.
Just very sparring situation, not trying to hurt each other type of things. I would throw hands.
But also the fact that two like the both of you are very studious and smart too. Like he seems very innocent. It's just a voice, y'all, because he's a halfling, okay? But he's actually very wise. Like he is an adult. He's just, just very curious about the world around him, So and he yearns for adventure and wanting to help.
I would be willing to have like a magical duel between Rory and the professor from Jorix, Point Staff.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's a very free-run situation.
I mean,
and
it could still happen. Maybe.
It would be a very free-run situation, and he would be Denkin.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that would be interesting, because that's one of those things where you go and you like battle with someone and you learn things. Yep. And I think that would be fun.
I agree with that completely. I would want to spend, I'm blanking on her name, but back in season 1, she's a minor NPC. Remember the tea shop you all hung out in? The college tea shop? And like the flowers were serving the tea leaves themselves.
Like a little, like I think that was like a fawn character.
Yeah, there was a little. Yeah, I can picture it. It's been a while since I've opened up what they're doing. But she had a little tea shop you all hung out in, and like literally the flowers were walking around pouring bits of tea from themselves for you all to drink.
I think you had a nearly hostile moment of her being like, now hopefully we're not going to make a mess in this shop, are we? No. Okay, cool, great. Yeah. Glad that you're here. Very Unohana from Bleach.
Very much that. Yep. I would spend a whole afternoon totally hanging out with Deidre too, because she's fascinating. I would very carefully want to spend a whole afternoon too with Ursula. Thank you, Salem. Salem, who would you hang out with? But yeah, I would want to hang out with Ursula, but I would need to have an adult present, because
I also want to disrespectfully throw hands with Belsarian.
That's valid. That's so valid. But with Ursula, just because, listen, I don't know what I might say I might accidentally make a deal with her. She is a hag on business. And I need an adult there to make sure I don't say something silly or forget something as well. Salem, did you just unplug my monitor? Okay, we're back. My whole monitor just went black, and it was because Salem was messing with it. So sorry about that, y'all. I don't know why. It's not even his dinner time yet. But that is really it for our questions for today, y'all. Sid, I'm like I said, I'm always love when we can talk and chat and stuff like that, and we've been long overdue. Like I said, the last time we sat down and did Q&A proper was season 1, so and there's been a lot happening.
Well, it's been fun. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and hopefully, if you're one of those that are new to the world of Ampistrano, maybe this will entice you to go back and watch our earlier seasons in preparation.
Please do.
In preparation for our new season, which will be coming. Our first interlude, I won't say with who because we're still figuring out info, but we will have our first interlude on August 15th. So it'll only be a few more weeks. That'll be Ampistrano away, but you can still catch up. We have new episodes still airing every Tuesday and Thursday, what with how the episodes have been broken up. And please do, if you have questions, come hang out with us in the Discord. We do have a space for Ampistrano chatter. I know I read it. I know Maz mentioned that she sometimes pops over to that channel just to see what's going on. So if you have questions or thoughts or things, like especially as you're going through the episodes, would love to hear it. We're also going to be playing out a call for artists and for writers and stuff like that. If you want to share your works, we're going to be spotlighting that in the new season. So just as a wonderful way to give back to the community that has given so much to all of us. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool things in the works. So if you would like to get involved, just poke me on Discord. Or poke the mod team and they'll poke me.
Do we still have the science emote?
We do. I have not removed that. We have the science emote still.
Okay.
There's no way I would get rid of that.
I can't remember which that is.
It's this one. I got it. I just popped it in the chat. Science. little Rory Blackstone. We need to get one for Astani. But there's Deodora. There's Deodora Love as well. But we need to get an Astani emote.
Funny enough, right? Funny enough, that science emote came from the fact that is a thing that Blackstone constantly says when doing things. Because that's their like for everybody else, it's like, you know, it's just like magic, mystery, arcana. Blackstone's just like, it's a science.
Yep. Believe me, one of the goals is I want to have a merch shirt that just says science on it, like imagination from SpongeBob. That is, again, we've got goals. We just got to get there, and we will one day.
And that's why you patreon.com/AmpistranoDND.
Yeah, there will be some stuff. It's been a little bit absent, just because I've been handling some fires, but there will be some stuff popping up, especially with some of the things that we're gonna be having that I've teased about. If you've been watching my streams, about like getting some lore keeping, we might get some voice acting in from Sin, doing some narration of some stuff. I don't know. We'll have to see. But Sin, do you want to go ahead and tell everyone where they can find and support you in the meantime and henceforth?
I sure will. So if you would like to just find me doing all the things, once I get my streaming schedule together, for one, you can find me on twitch.tv/Sinziak. That is how you say that. You can also find me on Black Sky. I'm Sinziak.blacksky.app if you want to find me over in that place. Here for Ampistrano on the major Linux channel for Tech Talk Thursdays, where we have to just go, the CEOs need to be fired at this point. Okay, thanks.
Agreed.
And that's where you can find me.
Wonderful. You also have a series that will be airing at some point, probably later this year, which if you would like to watch the prior episodes for, it's over on Other Cider Studios, right?
It is true. So the Magus Archives, also known as Gifts of Fear, where I am once again a person who just pokes at things and investigates stuff and just unravels mysteries in record time. So if you want to go and see that nonsense, where I am also a character who solves mysteries by doing weird things, you can catch that on Other Cider Studios, both here and on YouTube.
Woo woo. Shameless plug. Amazing. And hi everyone. I have been your producer, Alama Salem, as he knocks out my monitor again and shakes the camera. Sweet boy.
As one does.
Listen, he just had his birthday. He can do what he wants. So
Happy Salem Day.
Yeah, it was on July 4th. So we celebrated that and nothing else. Anyways, so you'll find me here. I'll be streaming regularly on my channel, as always, and putting out information about this new season. Like I said, we will be coming back with Interlude 1 on August 15th. Who's going to be the person in the hot seat? Well, you're just going to have to pay attention to the socials, because that is where all of that information will pop out once we have everything solidified. We still got to have some meetings, chatting with the cast about what we want to accomplish this upcoming season, checking in about safety tools. There's a lot that goes into actual play production, but also in TTRPGs. So, but please go check out our YouTube, leave a comment, all that jazz. We do read the comments. And yeah.
But don't say anything mean.
Also respect pronouns.
Don't say anything mean. And if you come over here disrespecting pronouns, I will send Deodora after you, and then I will send Fair after you, and then I will send Blackstone after you. And Blackstone uses upcasted magic missiles, and they don't miss.
As you do. But yeah, we will be back soon, y'all. And again, massive shout out to our lore keepers, to our moderators who helped keep us safe today, and the vibes as immaculate as always. And to all of you, whether you've lurked in the YouTube chat or on Twitch, or you've asked questions and whatnot, thank you for hanging out with us. We're super excited for this upcoming season and to continue to share this awesome world with all of you. So, we do have a wonderful group we're going to be raiding over that are having a birthday bash. Catchy Cantrip. So we're going to head over there, y'all, and spread some love. YouTube, we will see you all next time. But from all of us to all of you, from beyond the veil, we appreciate you. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Drink your water. Take your medications.
All of that. Bye, everybody.